Hey y'all, it's Tiffany Johnson with Tiffany Johnson Creative. Today we're going to make some fun black and white gel prints using our gel plate. And I've got my 6-inch brayer and some golden fluid acrylic black paint, but you can use whatever you have on hand. I'm going to spread a thin layer of black paint onto my plate. I'm using a 12 by 12 plate, but 9 by 12 paper. So you see I've got the bottom of the plate blocked off so I can get all of the paper printed that I'm using. Laying down my first stencil and a piece of rice paper with the smooth side down and giving it a good rub to make sure I get the paint through all those little crevices that are open in the stencil. And there's my first black and white print, pulling the stencil off quickly so I can get that reverse print on a second piece of paper. Now, as long as the paint's wet, you can keep pulling prints. Make sure to peek at it to see exactly what you're getting pulled up in case you need to give it a little extra rub or a roll with the brayer. And there's my second print. Now this paint that's left behind has dried, so I can still pull a ghost print by adding another layer of paint. And since I've pulled two black and white ones, I'm going to throw some yellow on there to pull this print, which is why it says mostly black and white prints at the beginning. Again, thin layer of paint, giving it a good rub, and I'll go ahead and pull that, and I can use that for another print later. And it gets all the grunge off the plate at the same time without wasting a bit. So the fun thing about gel printing is every time you do something, you can usually get 2 or 3 prints from it. So it's amazing how many prints you can get pulled. This is also a great way to get used to the gel plate if you're not used to using it, because you're just using, for the most part, black paint, so it's a good way to get a feel for how much paint to put on. You don't want your brayer to slosh around, and you do want enough paint that you don't have blank spots and you get full coverage. So again, I'm repeating the same process with a different stencil. Super fun black and white spots, pulling the stencil and getting the reverse print while the paint is still wet. Now, different paints have different drying times, so you can play with what you have and see what works best for you. A couple of options are open acrylics, which Golden makes, that stay wet a little bit longer, but you can also buy what's called an extender and add that to any acrylic paint and it'll keep them wet longer. Now, if you work quickly, most acrylic paints honestly stay wet long enough to do the gel printing process without adding anything extra, but it's nice to know that you have different options. So again, I'm pulling that ghost print with a color after getting my first 2 black and white prints. I've got some teal going on with this one, and you'll see me use this print again later to pull another print and add more black to the top of it. All right, back to the black. Again, just spreading that nice even coat of paint on there. My apologies for the reflection on my gel plate. You can see that's my light above the plate that's reflecting on it. So that is a solid coat of black. It just looks like there's a white circle because of the light over top. And I'm going to grab that yellow print I made earlier and go ahead and pull this black through the stencil, just to give you an idea of what another layer looks like, and I can use this for another project later. How cool is that? So when you have extra gel prints, make sure you set them to the side. If you're not done with them, you can always print another layer on top. And then I'm going to pull a straight black and white print from the reverse that was left on the plate under the stencil. Now you'll want to make sure and catch my next video where I use this print and a few of the other black and white prints in a project, and you'll see how versatile black and white prints can be. You really can't have enough of them, because if you use a transparent paint or ink on top of them as you're layering in your mixed media projects, then you still have the line and texture from the black and white, but you can alter the color of the end result with any sort of transparent ink, paint, watercolor, anything along those lines. They're really super versatile. Okay, so pulling another ghost print with my yellow paint. So you'll notice we're doing most of the black and white prints and reverse prints straight in black and white, and then some of the ghost prints I'm pulling in color because I'll use them later. And you'll notice I'm rolling my brayer there off on the side. I'm cleaning it off by rolling it on a random book page, or you can even use an open book or just random paper. And you'll notice a lot of times the paper that you roll the brayer off on can be just as interesting as the gel prints by the time you're done. So again, nothing wasted. I'm giving that one a good rub, a super fun leaf print. And this one I'm going to do a little different. So I'm pulling that stencil back and taking the same print I just pulled, turning it the opposite direction, and laying it back down to pull the print again. Now this works great with stencils, especially that are not symmetrical, where they're very different from one direction to the other, and gives you a variety on the same print with some extra layering. So now I've got that little bit of grunge left behind as a ghost print. Again, that's dried. So I'm going to grab some colored paint just to change it up again. This one's going to be two-tone. So I've got some magenta on one side, teal on the other. I'm going to roll that out and pull this off to use it again. Okay. And again, I can roll over that with my brayer instead of needing to rub it with my hand. Although most of the time, honestly, I do both. Super fun. All right, back to the black. We're gonna roll it out again. Put that stencil down one more time. And this time I'm going to pull a clean black and white print all by itself out of this one. It's one of my favorite stencils, so I like having multiple prints with this type of design on it because I find them really versatile for projects. On this next print, I'm going to take the reverse print using a piece of sheet music, which is a fun alternative and gives it extra texture and interest with the notes that show through the empty spots in the stencil. And you can use any kind of paper to pull a gel print, which is the fun part of experimenting. You can use book pages, sheet music, any type of paper you can put your hands on, really. And you'll find that different pages do gel prints differently. So find what you like and don't be afraid to try different things and change things up every now and then. And you'll see I'm using a random book page there just to clean off some of the extra paint. And I also use them sometimes to clean off my brayer. So here I'm just swirling some teal and yellow together to pull the grunge off for that ghost print. Again, I'll put that aside for later use, just having some fun with colors off to the side, even though we're doing mostly black and white today. I'll use this for another project another time, and possibly layer more prints over the top of it. Giving that a good rub. And now my plate's nice and clean, and I have this fun print to set aside. Cleaning off my brayer quickly. Now, for the most part, since we've been using black, I haven't really had to roll my brayer off too much, but when you're using different colors, you want to make sure and get them off before you put it in the next color. Now, I've been using 9x12 stencils, but you can always use smaller stencils, and you can do 2 or 3, 4 or 5, depending on the size of them, sometimes at a time. So you see I was laying them out there. I'm going to put my paint out and then put the stencils back down. But you'll notice when I put the stencil with the letters on it, I'm going to flip it over when I lay it down on the paint. Because to remember in gel printing, everything is always in reverse because of the way you print it. So if you have anything that has, say, letters or numbers or words in it, and you want it to read correctly on the print, you need to make sure and reverse it when you put it down on the gel plate so that when you pull the print, it comes out the right way. Now, apparently I had an extra page stuck to that one, so now I'm getting a good rub in there and you can actually see it coming through the rice paper. Especially those little dots need some extra attention to make sure that they're gonna pull through. And there you go, my letters are going the right way, and I've got 3 different prints all on one page of black and white that I can use. And I'll use one of those prints from earlier to pull the reverse print. Always good to have extra gel prints on hand to pull things at any time. Those added layers are really what make them special and unique. And there you have it. So we made all sorts of black and white gel prints today. Be sure and check out my next video to see what I do with some of these prints, and I hope it inspires you and encourages you to get creating, have some fun, and experience the joy and freedom that creativity brings. See you soon.